everybody, and welcome to the Faith Homestead Podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Matt.
And thanks so much for being here with us today. So today we're going to talk about quite a bit. The main thing we're going to talk about is the 4 reasons to get chickens. We have narrowed it down to the 4 reasons that we think you should get chickens. Of course, this is up to you. You can do whatever you want with the information, but this is what we think are the 4 most important reasons. And we're going to start off with a little bit of kind of like talk shop a little bit, what we've been up to. We just got some cattle panel put up in our garden. I just got back from a platform development a couple days away in Tennessee. Really fun. But basically that's what we're going to talk about today. If you could please like, share, subscribe. We really appreciate that. It really helps us to get our word out there. And so we hope that you are doing great wherever you're joining us today. So what has been going on with the garden? You want to talk about that first?
So we just finished putting a cattle panel trellis up.
2-man job. FYI, don't do it yourself. Do you think it's a 2-man job?
Yeah, it was easier. Having help for sure.
It's that cattle panel is pretty thick. I mean, I don't really understand the whole gauge thing. I think the lower the gauge, the thicker the material, correct? Mm-hmm. It was intense, to say the least. But we are going to try some vertical corral-ish gardening this summer. And
this was another one of our ideas for the garden.
It was. And I think it's going to be one that we actually use every year.
Remember when you wanted me to build a stone walkway through the garden?
I was very amateur at the time, and I didn't realize that garden real estate was extremely important. And at the time, we weren't planning on putting food away for a year every year. So don't put paver stones or pebble stones or any type of walkway in your garden unless you are not planning to actually put up food for your family for the long haul. So,
especially if you ever plan on rototilling your garden.
Which we are now not doing. So we technically could do it, but the real estate in our garden is too precious. So we're not going to do it.
But anyway, we decided to try the trellis now to grow vertically to see if we can maximize a little bit more. But also to get some of this stuff off the ground, just to see if it makes any difference to quality of the actual vegetables. Do they last any longer because they're not on the ground? With the wood chips, you know, the soil was super brown, super soft. We were really excited with how nice the soil looks this year, and thought that trellising up some different things, it wasn't going to take up any more room than if we planted them in the garden, right? Like you still had to put them in the ground. And if anything, we can actually plant them a little bit closer together because we're going to get them vertical. We'll see. Yeah. We're going to try growing pumpkins up in the air.
Yes, we are. So yeah, I mean, if you're listening and you've done any type of gardening with squash or gourds or any large variety of any type of fruit or vegetable, you know that you plant one pumpkin plant and you lose, 10 by 10 square feet of your space on the ground because the leaves are huge. You can't really plant much, you can't really intermingle much because they need light. And when you have giant leaves from these squash plants overcrowding the rest of your garden, you just don't get the yield that you're looking for. So I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I always come back to TikTok, but I know TikTok is not great for a lot of things, but when it comes to like really quick bits of information, if you kind of get into the gardening section of TikTok, you really
This is how I end up building things in our garden.
It is really cool. So you could also just Google image the tunnel trellising, but I'm going to put a YouTube short up on our page, Faith Homestead, and so you will be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. I made a video of me running back and forth through it, so I'll post that because I was really excited.
It's tall enough. So we used a 16-foot panel. We did them 60 inches apart. The ends where the ground is, I used just a T-stake like you would use to tie up fencing. Yeah. I mean, overall, a few $100 in materials.
Yeah, it was like $200 for everything. But we did 4 sections of panel. So how long is it total? Like,
so
32 feet?
No, not 32. You didn't prep me that I was going to have to do math.
Sorry, my bad. You're on the spot.
They were 16 by
8?
No.
4?
It's somewhere in the ballpark of 15 to 18 feet.
Okay.
In total length. Each panel 16 foot long. I don't remember the width of each one of them.
I feel like it's probably like, I don't know. Maybe.
No, it's more than that. It was 40 feet. Sorry, I lied.
I thought it was pretty long.
No, not 40 feet. It was 40 inches per panel. Remember, we had to do 50 inches apart. So
okay.
Somewhere around there.
All right. So, yeah, it's pretty long. I mean, it's not bad.
Decent length.
And
anyway.
we put two. So just imagine like a tunnel, right?
An arch.
Yeah, an arch tunnel. We did all this happens in this arch. We have 2 types of beans.
Correct.
We have cucumbers.
Pickling and regular
cucumbers. We have zucchini.
2 types of
squash. One summer squash and one just like black beauty, I think.
There was a green one and a yellow
one.
I forget.
Yeah, and then we have cantaloupe, pumpkins.
And jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna go. That was a Thomas thing.
Thomas saw them
for Mother's Day.
For Mother's Day, and thought you would like them.
And I did. They're beautiful. Hopefully they don't bring the whole trellis down. I don't think it's gonna happen. But apparently Matt was reading up that we have to put like pantyhose once they start to form.
Build a net around them
to hold
the weight of it.
So they actually don't fall off of the actual vine, which makes sense. I think we'll see. We're gonna post pictures. But yeah,
it's going to be a fun summer in the garden.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's just different. It's nice to break up the monotony. You know what I mean? You do the same thing every year.
We have our tomatoes in the ground, which I think we had 12 plants that actually survived.
Yeah, we had some
We've
predator
had some
issues.
hot and cold. We've had some weird things happening with our weather so far this year. So we have 12 in the ground.
Yeah, bunch of pepper plants.
Lots of pepper plants. So salsa row, got the peppers and the tomatoes going.
Yeah, salsa row. We do a lot of canning of salsa and peppers here. Yeah, so that is Matt's favorite thing. So, yeah.
We also have our eggplants to go in the ground. And
they are ready. They're probably about almost a foot tall. So they're getting there.
Getting close. So
yeah.
Everything looks great. We're, with the Back to Eden, we're just pulling that wood chips away, getting them in the ground, letting them grow up enough if they haven't already to get out of the ground. If they have, push the wood chips right back in and let them go for the year.
Yeah. So that's that. I just got back from Nashville. Well, actually, I stayed in Hendersonville. I am very blessed and lucky enough that I know our pastor who goes to our church, who also does a lot of his own platform development, and he has a wonderful website if you're if you're an entrepreneur and you're interested in building your online platform. A little shout out to John Stange. His website is platformlaunchers.com. I will link that in the description below, and he has been an absolutely invaluable resource to us as we have been slowly but surely developing our platform over the last couple of years. We have a great membership community with Platform Launchers, and it's been a wonderful experience. I will link my affiliate link for Platform Launchers below. If you are interested in trying it out for 30 days, I could probably even get you a 60-day free trial because I'm like his friend. So he would probably hook you up and get you in for 60 days. So I think I can do it. I think he would let me do it. So, I mean, you can hold me to it. And if not, I'll pay for your 30 days. I think I could get him to do it. So anyway, we want to get, that was an amazing experience. It was a very intimate, few days with a few, people that are part of this membership community. We met and we did a 2-day workshop. We came in early. My friend, Nadine and I got in like a day early and we went to Nashville. That was a total crazy experience. I've never experienced such nightlife at 6 o'clock in the evening before in my entire life. It was unbelievable, but I will tell you, some of the talent that we saw like on the strip in Nashville was unbelievable. And it's crazy. They say that it is like so hard to like make it big, from Nashville because there's so many people that are just so talented. But it was really cool. Really good food too. But basically what we're going to get into today is the 4 reasons to get chickens. And our first reason that we think is the most important is just sustainability in uncertain times. We, chickens and just, preparing our family and our home for, uncertain times is something that's been on my heart since 2019. At first, it was a little bit hard to convince Matt to want to get the chickens just because it's a responsibility. It's like getting a dog. Everybody wants a dog, and then who takes care of the dog? Do you know what I mean? And so Matt was, thinking that he would be on the hook for doing all the work, but you have to admit that I do almost probably 85% of the work for them. Have you ever had to clean the coop? So I do take the responsibility for the chickens. He does go out and feed and water them as I need them sometimes. But you want to talk about that a little bit, like sustainability? Like, what do you think for that?
Yeah, I think that the big thing here, right, and you know, we always talk about this preparedness mindset.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when you can't get eggs at the store?
Yeah.
What happens when you can't get
chicken,
anything at a grocery store?
Yeah.
Having our own food, right? And for me, I wasn't overly excited about getting chickens at the time. Eggs weren't even that expensive when we got them.
You see the value now, though.
Looking at egg prices now, it's like, yeah, saved us a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's like every day. Like, obviously,
I'm thankful our kids stopped drinking milk.
Seriously, we actually have. I didn't freeze it because I didn't think it was gonna happen. We have we have milk that has expired in our fridge right now. We have reached the point where all 3 kids are not drinking. Like, we were going through like gallons and gallons a week of milk, and now we're maybe a gallon a week.
Decided to stop.
They're just done, and they're at the age now where they get so much dairy.
I think she was trying to get a dairy cow before long.
I'm still gonna get one because I'm gonna make cheese. It's not gonna happen right now, but when I have my homestead, my big homestead down the road, I'm getting a sweet little friend. Probably gonna name her Sally, the cow. We'll see. Gonna make some cheese. Seriously, some wheels of cheese, yogurt. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, just like sustainability in uncertain times, like we get to Peru, we have our own food. We have our own. It is very, very small food source, but we've removed that dependence, on that one food source.
Mm-hmm.
And number 2 is just teaching children responsibility and husbandry. Do you want to speak on that?
Yeah, so we work to have our kids involved in age appropriate chores,
Mm-hmm.
both inside and outside. And this is one of those things where especially the younger ones can get involved. They love to get out there. They like to try to play with the chickens.
Jocelyn loves to play with the chickens. Yeah, and give them treats.
Treat them, stuff like that. So, it gets them involved, makes them interested in taking care of them. Collecting the eggs is another pretty simple task, as long as they're not throwing them down in the egg bucket.
Yeah, we just, if you ever get chickens and you have little kids, just, it doesn't matter how many times you tell them that they're going to crack, until they really fully grasp that concept, you'll probably get one of 7 or 8 cracked. It's just the way it goes. But
the way it is.
Yeah, but I mean,
And it has them involved in being a part of the family and having their roles.
Yeah, and I think it's really important. It's just like you're just that stewardship over living things. You know what I mean? Like, just knowing that, like, we have 8 chickens right now that rely on us to survive. They are fully reliant on us. And so it's really great to teach our kids that, like, this is an animal that God has entrusted us with, and it is our job to make sure that that animal is taken care of. And in return, we get eggs. Eventually, when that chicken has lived its life, that chicken will be culled, and we will then, make stew from that chicken. And it's really good to teach them the circle of life. And it's really good for them just to understand that every single creature that God has given us has such immense value, because it's what sustains us. Like, we are sustained upon the things that God has given us. So that's just extremely important to us. Number 3 is a clean source of nutrition. We know what is going in and what is coming out. Right. It was actually funny. I was speaking to somebody today. We had a church luncheon, and I was talking to somebody about, and they were like, "How many chickens do you have?" And I was like, "Oh, we have 8 chickens." We still have the same 8 chickens that we got, it's been like 2.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And our chickens are just like, we do our best to care for them. And it's just, it's just really important. And we know what they're getting. We had a church luncheon, and so everybody takes like what's left over. There were like leftover fruits, and like there was leftover breads, and they're like, "Do you want these, Sarah?" And I'm like, "Well, we're not going to probably be able to go through all this." But it's, again, like, I'll take the food for the chickens, and we know exactly what our chickens are getting. And so now we get to cut down on our feed, because they're going to have some protein sources today. And that's really awesome for us. And then just like a big thing for me is the reduced chemical exposure, because we are the only country in the world that mass produces our chickens. Like, obviously most chickens are raised in very confined spaces, but then their eggs, as they lay their eggs, they're then like chemical washed with like disinfectant and like food grade bleach, whatever that means. Do you know what I mean? And so we have to refrigerate our eggs because we have to chemically wash them in the United States. And so we don't do that. We sell our eggs to, just a few people who are interested, and I always say I have unwashed eggs or I have washed eggs. But when I mean wash, I mean I just take a little brush and some water and just clean off any debris that's on them, which is very minute. Our chickens are, lay pretty clean eggs, but that's probably my biggest thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Knowing what we're putting in.
Yeah, absolutely. And then lastly, it's just a really great segue to homesteading. And it's a really great opener. It's a way to get familiar with the fact that you need to take care of something every single day. And if you're able to do chickens and you're able to take care of them, it's pretty obvious that you eventually would be able to do more, because that isn't it's not like you just set it and forget it. Like, you have to care for these animals every single day. So do you want to add to that why you think it's a good segue?
Yeah, and I think that it's also it'll give you an insight into that responsibility for sure.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, there is no day off from doing what has to get done. Like, you don't give the birds water, they will die. Like,
yeah.
There's no day off from that, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think that it is a good way to kind of segue into that mindset, where if the normal thing to do is sit down on the couch, watch a movie, this, that, and the other, and you're not active doing stuff, this is something that it doesn't take a ton of time.
It's 5 minutes.
It's a few minutes every day, and then a few times a year, 4 times, 5 times a year,
yeah.
You're spending an hour or two.
An hour. Yeah.
But that's not counting all the time that we started with them from very early with the heat lamps and and we could probably do a video series on all of that. But it is an investment into it, but it's not as big as some of the other things that can be out there. Yeah,
so it's really good too, because if you I've seen people go from like zero to homesteading. Like I've watched like these Instagram, like people and they do it. I mean, they get really Instagram famous on it, and it's crazy. They go from like city to like homestead, and it's like they get hit with so many challenges because they were not prepared at all. And so this is a great way to see, like, are you willing to even do this lifestyle? And
I think as you do it, as you get into it in that sense, you start looking up a little bit more. You start interacting with people that are doing a little bit more. You're going into a deeper journey with homesteading already more prepared.
For sure.
And then you have those better contacts that prevent you from making those mistakes, rather than just off the high dive right in.
Yeah.
Going in one foot at a time. It's actually... It's been pretty good for us.
It has been. And you just learn more every single day. It's really awesome. But that's pretty much all we have for you today, except for, do you have anything today for our Self-Reliant Sunday, or anything you got self-reliant about this week that you want to talk about?
Well, the only real thing is, small engine rebuild.
Oh, yeah.
I think is actually...
Yeah.
It's ready to run. So, lost compression in that motor, and, I didn't want to spend a ton of money doing stuff with this bamboo. I'm over it.
It's such a,
But I rebuilt the motor, got compression, did it for less than $100, and finally got it all assembled last night. So, once we're done here, we're going out to put oil and gas in the machine and see if we can get it to run.
Fingers crossed.
So,
yeah.
Self-reliance, I think that's one of those things where could have thrown this machine out, could have bought a new one, found, rental, something like that, and spent a lot more money. Yeah,
but you spent, and I want everybody, it does take time. And so
it was a complete rebuild.
It was and you spent this seems like, oh, we just fixed it, but this is like hours and hours, he doesn't even have hours and hours, but it's like, he has an hour today, an hour like last week, and he just all of these hours together just working on it.
And it was complicated, I mean, with this thing, you have to take the entire thing apart, and then the whole, just to get the motor off, then getting the motor off and torn apart while you're trying to diagnose, figure out what's going on. For me, I find it challenging when I start a project like that, and then I have to stop.
Yeah, which is like all the time.
And pick it up a week later, not just like the next day, right? So I'm putting it back together again last night after I got the compression test done, and I'm just thinking, like, there's a lot of screws here. Like, do I have all of them? And every single screw's back on the machine, so I'm pretty excited about it. But it's one of those things where I could have pretty easily just given up on this thing after, losing compression and saying, you know, it's done. And
do you have any suggestions for people that are listening right now that have like a weed whacker or a snowblower that is just kaput, and they have it still sitting in their garage, but they're like, maybe I could do this? Mm-hmm. What do you recommend?
So there's a big thing with most small engines, well, just about any engine really, but fuel, air, and spark, right? So 3 things that you need to check on. And if you find which one you don't have, it kind of leads you down that pathway. Today's world, I mean, you can put the model of the machine that you have into YouTube. You're probably going to find a video of somebody that's done all 3: fuel, air, spark.
It's the beauty
figured
of
out
YouTube.
which ones they are.
Yeah.
Most machines I have found will have, like, certain motors will have a certain thing that commonly goes wrong with them.
Okay.
So on one type of motor, you know, the carburetors might be the thing that goes bad most frequently. So you do a YouTube search for that motor, and all of a sudden there's 100 videos of people that have had carburetor issues. Okay, well, it's a likely place to start then is look at that carburetor. Do a little bit of diving on the internet. Used to be, not anymore as I found, but forums used to be a huge place where you could go in and just be like, hey, ran into this problem, here's what I did, here's what I checked, here's what I got. And you'll get the answers from people that go, yep, had the same motor, tore it apart, did this fixed it. Today, YouTube, everybody's made a video of, you know, the machine. I literally found a video of from Repair Clinic, which is an awesome website. 1 for parts, but 2 for some great videos.
We'll link it in the comments.
On how to actually, like, the machine. It wasn't my exact machine. It was the exact machine from the sister brand of the manufacturer. And it showed the exact process from start to finish, how to take the entire thing apart, put the entire thing back together again.
That's fantastic. And I just want to say, I feel like since, you know, 2006, you have, we see the reason, this is just the fact. We were too broke to be able to pay to have people fix stuff for us. Even just cars. Like when we started living together, like we couldn't afford to like take our cars to a mechanic. And so Matt, we learned like early on that like Matt was going to have to like figure out how to do things with our cars, with small engines. And it was really frustrating a lot of times. I mean, like there were times where you were in my car and like the things that you were fixing on my car, I was like, this is insane. Like we should have like all these car jacks and lifts to be able to do this. But he's like in there, like doing it without the things that like he would normally have to make it easier, like in a repair shop. And it's just like when there's a need, and this is like self-reliance, when there's a need and you don't have like the money to do it, you have to rely on yourself. Right. And so you have just come so far with your ability to repair things. And I'm just so impressed by it.
Sometimes it is a little bit of ego that says like, oh, I think I could figure this out.
That's okay.
But sometimes it's, you know, I know when there's stuff that's over my head and I just shouldn't really mess with it.
Well, we have our friends coming over today to help us diagnose. We're having a HVAC/electrical issue with our air conditioning right now. We have a friend who's an electrician, something that Matt is like not really willing to like you don't really play with like electric. And so he's going to come over and try to help us with that today. Yeah, That's an example. So. And
so I think it's important to know, you know, what things are worth playing around with. When is it really time to call somebody in and go, I'm really lost? And I think that it's, you know, for me, tearing apart small engines, honestly, if I tear it apart, put it back together and it doesn't run, I didn't lose a ton of money on this thing. I could probably scrap the machine if I needed to for the money I put in. So it gives me a little bit of, you know, the experience of tearing it apart. I mean, having every nut and bolt off a small engine. It's the first time I've actually completely disassembled down to a bare block. So typically it's tear it down to the point of, you know, this is the problem, fix it back up. But this needed a little bit more work than that, so we're going to see if it runs.
All right. Well, that's all we have for you today, and we hope that you have a great week. Again, if you have any questions, if you have a question for Matt on small engines, like you're thinking about, you know, taking something apart and you just want like a little bit of like, you know, motivation to do it, please email us, info@Faith Homestead. Let us know if the question's for Matt or for me, Sarah, and we will get back to you like within a day or two. We thank you so much for watching our video and have a great week. God bless.